Hi, you're listening to episode 31 of the Ento Podcast, and on this week's show we look at Twynam maggot farming partnership wins global food chain gong. The future of edible insects depends on kids. Can maggots eat away a nation's food waste crisis? A Columbus man thinks so. So all of that's coming up in this week's episode of the Ento Podcast, so stay tuned.
Looking to stay up to date on all things entomorphagy? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Ento Podcast with your host, Ross Bell.
Hi, and welcome to episode 31 of the Ento Podcast, the show that brings you the latest news and views from the world of entomorphagy and insects for animal feed. I'm your host, Ross. So this week we've got three stories. First one comes from Queensland Country Life and is written by Andrew Marshall. Twynam maggot farming partnership wins global food chain gong. South African maggot farmer AgriProtein has won fresh acclaim in the quest for a new source of stock feed meal. The waste-to-nutrient pioneer, which has plans to build its first Australian farm in New South Wales, in partnership with the local Twynam Agricultural Group, has been named by the British Broadcasting Corporation as a BBC Food Chain Global Champion. The award recognises AgriProtein's flagship product as helping secure the future of food while also delivering significant environmental benefits. AgriProtein uses food waste to feed black soldier fly larvae, which in this article they're calling them maggots, which in turn become the company's magmeal protein, which is a substitute for fish meal. Fish meal is widely used as a feedstock for aquaculture and also pet food and other intensive livestock production areas. They have a fly farm project under their development in the UK, the US, South Africa, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, and has been awarded several international licenses to use its technology, most recently to Twynam for Australasia. Twynam Agricultural Group, better known for its big pastoral holdings and irrigated cropping in New South Wales, has also been one of AgriProtein's earliest and largest individual shareholders, where an interest in growing black soldier fly larvae began almost 4 years ago. Raising flies on food waste is just brilliant, because nothing need go to waste anymore, the AFM New York chief and awards judge said. AgriProtein's magmeal market plans will initially focus on serving the 100 billion aquaculture feed sector, then poultry, then pigs, and then pet food. Using a factory rollout model developed with global engineering firm Christoph Industries, the company can deliver fly farms on a turnkey basis anywhere in the world, potentially at a rate of up to 25 factories annually. Black soldier flies, which tend not to be considered a pest because they avoid human habitat areas, will be bred in specially escape-proof sheds on an industrial scale in Australia. They produce the 55% protein organic feed product, or magmeal, plus mag oil, which is an omega-rich oil used for fish stocks, while the compost that they leave behind as a byproduct can be sold on to farms. Mag soil, as it's being called, can be used on the cropping and pastoral soils, and particularly in horticulture. About 8.5 billion flies in a standard fly farm will feed on 250 tonnes of organic waste a day and produce nearly 5,000 tonnes of magmeal and 2,000 tonnes of mag oil a year. The Food Chain Champion title was awarded as part of the 2017 BBC Food and Agriculture Awards. It recognises work which challenges established methods and practices to secure the future. New EU regulations have just come in to permit the use of insect-based nutrients in aquafeed, while other geographies already permit its wider use in agriculture and pet food. That's a great story. So it's another AgriProtein story. So I think they were in two stories that we've had previously where they've been about their farms in other parts of the world. So it's good to see that they're opening another one, this time in Australia. By the look of the article, there should be one in the UK shortly as well, which is good because I see whether I can go out there and try and get an interview for the show. Sticking with maggots, or black soldier fly, the second story we've got comes from the Columbus Dispatch, and it's by Marion Renault. I'll just play the video and then we'll come back after that.
Not a lot of people think about waste. There's a small percentage of waste that's currently composted. The majority of it goes straight to a landfill. Any waste that we're taking that's going into the landfill is nutrients that are lost from the nutrient cycle. And I've been looking for something that was going to help us take this burden of food waste or organic waste and turn it into something that's valuable. The black soldier fly, the scientific name is Hermetia elutions. And they're native to the Americas. They have spread worldwide since World War II. I use insects to process organic waste into a livestock feed. If you take something such as a loaf of bread, the average time that a compost pile, so that's just a pile of organic material or stuff that's going to break down naturally in your backyard, that's going to take about 6 months to a year to break down. If you take a loaf of bread and you feed it to the larva, if you've got enough larvae there, they will consume that entire loaf of bread within an hour, 2 hours. It's a significant improvement over the time to process organic material into a usable product. So basically what that means is I take your hamburger when you're done with it, the leftovers of that, I dump it into a bucket, I let some larvae eat all of that. When they're done eating it, they crawl out of the bucket. I'm going to take a small portion of those, reserve them for breeding and continuing the population. The other ones I'm going to use as a livestock feed for poultry, swine, and fish. Definitely with a project like this, you redefine your definition of disgusting. Knowing what you're doing is like the right thing to be doing, and knowing that not a lot of people are doing this. And so you kind of are on the cutting edge, so to speak, of organic waste conversion. I think that's what keeps me going here, is knowing that this is something that I deem very important for the survival of our species in the long term. We need to get a better grip on how we're handling all of our resources as a population.
The final story we've got today is the future of edible insects depends on kids. This was in Treehugger by Catherine Martinko. Once convinced that eating insects is healthy, tasty and cool, kids will be the most effective ambassadors for the industry. Arachnophobes be warned. A new video made by Project Explorer features people chowing down on deep-fried tarantulas in Cambodia, one crispy leg at a time. There are some crickets, mealworms and cockroaches thrown in as well, but somehow they pale in comparison to the tarantulas. The video, which was screened at the Brooklyn Bugs Festival this past summer and will be shown in classrooms around the United States, is part of a push to get kids interested in eating insects. Why? Because marketers know that if kids can be convinced eating insects is a good idea, it bodes well for the entire edible insect industry. Younger generations will grow up into bug-eating adults, while influencing peers and family members to do the same. Children have a deeper concern for following environmental rules, such as not carving names into trees and not stepping on flowers, than they do for following social rules such as not picking your nose or being a mess eater. And this could conceivably manifest in kids not only wanting to protect the natural world, but also being able to ignore stigmas, even in the kitchen. This is why the Brooklyn Bug Festival featured an all-day children's education program with a petting zoo and cricket samples. One father tried the crickets only because his daughter made him, then he ended up buying some to take home. David George Gordon, author of the Eat a Bug Cookbook, says events like this are a great way to engage parents, since adults are skeptical about eating bugs, whereas kids are so receptive to trying them. The Project Explorer video will work in the same way, convincing kids that insect eating is normal for 2 billion people worldwide, so there's no reason why we shouldn't accept it here. It teaches kids about the environmental repercussions of raising large animals for human consumption, the impressive nutritional profile of insects, and the rich culinary history of entomophagy. So I'll put a link to the Project Explorer video so you can watch it for yourself. But I think it's great. Every time I've done shows with Crick8, it's always been the kids that keep coming back, wanting more and more of the samples. And it's been fun to see them where you get some kids who will try and dare each other to try one, and when they try them and realise that they taste quite nice, their friends are convinced and they'll try, and then after that you just keep seeing them again. And once the kids have tried it, then the parents are more willing to give it a go. But we've also had the other side of the coin, where the kids have been interested and wanted to try the crickets but have been pulled away by the parents, saying no, that's horrible, they're yucky, without even letting them have a sample and finding out for themselves. So if you can get to kids where the parents aren't there, whether in sort of their own sort of age group, then it cuts down some of the barriers that you've got to try and get past to get your product tried. But anyway, that's it for this week. So if you're in the UK and you're interested in trying some crickets, either whole or powdered, Don't forget to come over to Crick8 and pick up a packet of the cricket protein powder. Find out this and some recipes and more at Crick8, KRIC and the number 8.co.uk. Until next week, this is Ross saying ta-ra for now.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ento Podcast. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit theentopodcast.co.uk and on Facebook and Twitter at the Ento Podcast. We'll catch you next time.